Happy Wednesday, April 8th, 2026, and welcome back to CoeCast. It is also Be Kind to Lawyers Day, which feels extremely on brand for AI Week because somewhere a legal team is absolutely speed running an existential crisis. I'm Hunter.
And I'm Riley. Also, yes, this episode was assembled by a little orchestra of robots, prompts, workflows, and automation glue, so if a sentence randomly develops sentience, we're keeping it. That's part of the art.
Fully machine-made, human-guided, mildly chaotic, just the way we like it.
Today we've got a very funny trio of stories. One is a super lockdown frontier model that sounds like it escaped from a sci-fi security briefing. One is Meta trying to turn media buying into a very expensive autopilot button. And one is an actually practical video tooling story that creators can use right now.
Yeah, the split is kind of perfect. Anthropic drops Claude Mythos preview and everybody online goes, whoa, this thing is terrifyingly smart. Meta keeps pushing Andromeda and Advantage Plus deeper into ad automation. And then on the video side, what's actually real right now is less a clearly documented CREATUS.AI launch and more a broader wave of practical tooling getting better across the market.
Let's start with Mythos because the vibe online is very much secret dragon in a vault, huge benchmark claims, crazy cybersecurity aura, all that. But Hunt, if normal teams can't really use it, what are they actually supposed to take away from this?
Honestly, the practical takeaway is not, wow, look at this benchmark sheet. It's that Frontier Labs are now using restriction itself as part of the product story. Anthropic is basically saying, this model is powerful enough that broad release would be irresponsible right now. That becomes a trust signal for enterprise buyers.
Maybe, but it's also a little velvet rope theater, right? Like, congrats on the mysterious God model none of us can touch. I think a lot of companies hear that and go, cool, call us when there's an API and a pricing page.
That's fair. And most teams should resist getting hypnotized by inaccessible capability. If you're a marketer, creator, ops lead, the lesson is not to redesign your stack around Mythos. It's to watch how safety messaging is becoming positioning. Responsible AI is no longer just policy language. It's becoming a go-to-market move.
Right, and enterprise people do care about that, especially if legal is already clutching a stress ball. But I still think buyers are splitting into two camps. One group wants the lockdown, heavily governed stuff because they need cover and control. The other group is basically waiting for the open source clone to hit GitHub and asking one engineer to look into it.
Totally. And that open versus closed tension is not going away. We talked recently about Gemma getting more practical for commercial use, and open alternatives keep coming up for teams that don't want their whole AI roadmap rented from 5 vendors forever. That's the backdrop here. Mythos may be impressive, but restricted models create demand for controllable alternatives.
Yes. Because transparency still matters. If a model is a black box inside a black box wrapped in a Trust Me PDF, people get itchy, especially when budgets are attached.
And when workflows are attached. Because most companies don't need the smartest possible model in a bunker. They need a reliable model inside a system that can actually move work from research to draft to review to publishing without falling apart.
Which is why Meta's story is maybe more immediately disruptive. This one is not theoretical. Meta is basically saying, hey, give us your assets, step away from the dashboard, and let the machine cook.
Yeah, and to be clear, that's where things are headed. Campaign management is turning into a settings page. Targeting, placements, bids, optimization, increasingly automated. The center of gravity shifts from manual media buying toward creative strategy and asset velocity.
Translation. The spreadsheet goblin era is ending, and the taste economy is back.
That is a very Riley way to put it, but yes.
Thank you. But here's my pushback. People keep saying this means creative matters more, and that's true, but not all creative wins equally in these systems. It's not just taste, it's structured variation. You need different hooks, formats, lengths, faces, tones, maybe even different voiceovers, because the machine needs options to test against. One perfect ad is not the assignment anymore.
That's exactly right. The new leverage is not hand-tuning audience segments all afternoon. It's building a creative pipeline that can generate, organize, test, and refresh assets fast without losing brand coherence. If your team can produce high-quality variation consistently, Meta's automation becomes more useful. If not, the algorithm just optimizes mediocre inputs faster.
Garbage in, but make it scalable.
Pretty much. And there's a risk here. The more these platforms promise broad targeting and automatic optimization, the easier it is for brands to become dependent on systems they can't fully inspect. It works great until performance slips and nobody can explain why.
Oof, yes. That's the scary part. The machine says, trust me, conversions are up, and everybody's happy. Then one day results sag, lead quality gets weird, or spend starts drifting into nonsense territory, and the team has no muscle memory left because they outsourced judgment.
Which is why human oversight still matters. Not because humans should manually do every task, but because someone has to own the why. You need holdout thinking, you need creative analysis, you need a read on whether the platform is rewarding actual brand progress or just short-term click sugar.
Also, can we please say this clearly? If AI is doing the targeting, bids, placements, and a bunch of creative enhancement, the human marketer still owns taste, positioning, narrative, and the line between persuasive and deeply cursed.
Deeply cursed is a real category now.
It is. I've seen enough uncanny UGC avatars to last a lifetime.
And that leads nicely into the video side, because this part feels more grounded when we talk about the market generally instead of overclaiming one undocumented launch. Better motion, stronger consistency, more usable short-form generation, and tighter workflow integration are showing up across major tools. This is less, imagine the future, and more, okay, this could reduce editing friction today.
Yeah, this is my favorite kind of launch category. Not mystical, useful. It's giving workflow, not keynote. If I can take prompts, reference media, and in some tools even audio, and get video that tracks motion well enough for social concepts, explainers, quick ads, or even internal pitch content, that's a real production unlock.
Especially for teams trying to collapse time between idea and asset. We've been talking about this pattern for a while. Netflix open sourcing Void was another sign, though that's more object removal and physics-aware editing than full generation. Runway's consistency push, Google's video tooling getting more operational, all of it points the same way. Video AI is moving from novelty demos toward infrastructure.
Though, wait, I don't think the bottleneck is the model for a lot of teams anymore.
Go on.
It's approvals. It's brand judgment. It's whether anyone is brave enough to publish something that wasn't handcrafted for 3 weeks in a Figma cave. The model can hand you 10 decent options in minutes, but if the organization still behaves like every asset needs a royal coronation, you're cooked.
That makes sense. The bottleneck shifts up the stack. Better generation exposes slower decision-making. And that's where automation has to extend beyond the model itself. Not just generate the clip, but route it for review, attach context, log variants, collect feedback, and push approved outputs into distribution.
Thank you. This is why I keep yelling that prompt quality is not the whole story. System quality matters. If your workflow is messy, better models just create prettier chaos.
Spoken like someone who has had to clean up a content ops mess.
I have seen things.
So if we zoom out, these stories actually connect really cleanly. Mythos says the frontier is getting more powerful and more restricted. Meta says automation is eating repetitive campaign mechanics. And the video market says generative and AI-assisted video is getting practical enough to become part of normal production. Different layers, same direction.
Which is what? Basically, AI is making teams more capable, but only if they design around it like adults?
More or less. Otherwise, you get the bad version of the future, where everybody is expected to do 5 jobs because software got better, and leadership keeps calling it a co-pilot while quietly deleting headcount requests.
Whew, yeah. The dream is human plus machine. The nightmare is human plus machine plus no process plus impossible expectations.
Exactly. The winning teams will be the ones that use automation to remove drag, not accountability. Let the machine do the repetitive middle. Keep humans on intent, judgment, brand, and final call.
And maybe be kind to your lawyers today, because between restricted frontier models, black box ad platforms, and AI-generated avatars singing product benefits in 6 languages, they are not having a chill Wednesday.
They really are not. All right, that's our show.
Thanks for hanging with us on COEcast.
Be sure to subscribe and check out COE.com/resources for AI news and updates.
Go celebrate Be Kind to Lawyers Day by not uploading your whole strategy deck into a mystery model without permission.
Strong advice. Catch you next time.
Later.